What up, Austin?
It's Den of Geek! Hi, welcome to the Den of Geek.
Thank you, David.
Hi.
Since most viewers who watch this obviously will not have seen the movie, how would you describe My Dead Friend Zoe?
My Dead Friend Zoe, it's a film about family. It's a film about friendship. It's a film about how loyalty in a friendship can sometimes become toxic. It's about grief and processing grief and when to give yourself permission to move on, and maybe how to honor the folks that you've lost is maybe by moving on. But the funny thing is it's about veterans too. And it's not a typical story about veterans where we're broken because most of us are not. This is just a film about people, and they just happen to be veterans, portrayed by these lovely people here. It's a dark comedy. And I'm just really excited for people to see it. I don't really think there's a film about veterans specifically out there like this. So I'm really excited.
Kyle, you've said in the past that this film began for you as a mission assignment from your battalion commander you served with. Could you talk about how that mission began?
Feels like a lifetime ago, but I was a young sergeant in the Army in 2004, and we were all getting ready to deploy to Iraq. I was supposed to get out of the military, but we got stop-lossed, so everybody has to go. You don't get to get out. But my colonel called me into his office one night late, and he said, Sergeant, I've seen your films. I was making films on the side about jungle warfare training and our airborne operations. And he said to me, I think maybe you're meant for something different than going to war with us right now. So I've made an exception for you and only you to get out of this deployment. You're going to find the best film school in the world. I don't know what it is, but I'm going to check. You're going to graduate top of your class, and you're going to pay it back to your battle buddies by telling the soldier's story. I saluted him, and I said, yes, sir. And I was gone, and I was make my way. So fast forward, come into USC using the GI Bill. I ended up getting called to go back to Iraq, back in the Army. So I had to do that. But all of it was this mission that this colonel put me on, was to be a voice for veterans, for soldiers. And it's just an honor because it's so rare for any of us to get to write a script and direct a script of our own. So yeah, I really see it as a mission to be able to tell our own story.
Has this colonel seen the movie yet?
He hasn't. His name is Daniel C. Griffith. I have not had his contact information for a decade. I've been looking for his info. He went on to the Pentagon, I think, all these things. This article came out in Variety 2 days ago. I haven't told you guys this. I got an email from him yesterday out of the blue. So in 10 years, I haven't been able to find him, and he found me in one day. And he said, hey, Sergeant, I saw your article, and I'm glad that you stuck to the mission. Geronimo 6 out, So I'm excited to get back to him and show the film.
Saniqua, Natalie, obviously you have Kyle's experience to pull from, but did you also spend time at the VA or with women veterans to help understand your characters?
We spent a little bit of time with some veterans that Kyle introduced us to, which was great, and we did ask a lot of questions. For me, this got put together really, really quickly, so we didn't have a lot of time to prep before it, and also it is an indie movie. It was pulled together with indie resources, and we got to going really quick, but luckily we met some amazing veterans through Kyle that were able to share their experiences with us, and some of them are in the movie.
That's right. Most of the actors in the film, especially the background actors, are veterans. And so they would graciously talk to us and teach us how to listen as well. That's something that really struck me, was that, and we've learned this from you as well, that a lot of veterans, they find that people don't listen. They'll ask questions, and then as soon as the veteran starts to speak, they glaze over because it's so uncomfortable for them. And so that's one of the things I treasure from this experience, in addition to all of these amazing people, this amazing person. That is a gift that you can give back, because you'll never be able to repay veterans for what they've given for you. But what you can do is sit and listen to them and let them speak. So we were able to do that. And I'm really grateful that you did it that way, that there's that authenticity, because they're there, and they have stories that will blow your mind and break your heart.
We see sequences where Zoe is alive back in Afghanistan, and sequences where she's dead and a kind of ghost haunting the Merritt character. I was curious how you two as actors differentiated playing those dynamics and those energies.
Interesting. I think for me, it was a combination of, Kyle and I talked about this a lot, because I was like, how much of this is a manifestation of Merritt's guilt? Like, is she just a guilt demon? And is it not really Zoe? So for me, there was a real difference in how I played the two, and how I played alive Zoe and dead Zoe. And I made it not super noticeable, or at least I tried to, but internally there was one, and there was one in how I was trying to manipulate her into whatever I wanted from her, which is actually what she wanted. So there was a lot of thought process for me behind differentiating the two of those. Yeah.
We talked about it almost daily, because it was such a balance. There was nuance there, and there were things that we did to be elusive and be abstract as well, even with the camera, and which go Matt.
And as an actor, it's interesting to play an intention that is not mine, but that is hers, but that she doesn't want.
And to take her in that way as well. Like,
yes.
you're you, but you're me, but you're you, but you're me. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. I might just add that Sonequa and Natalie are two of the first to sign on to the project. They're also executive producers of this film, heavily involved in the creative. And beforehand and on set, we would huddle in a trailer. They have an idea. They'd pull me in. We would change things on the fly in a scene. They fully embodied and owned these characters. And it's so much more rich because of that.
Well, to open it up, Sonequa mentioned a moment ago how people listen to veterans, but maybe not really listen. And you both play characters in Merritt's life. And could you talk a little bit about playing parts of a veteran's experience coming home?
Well, I play Sonequa's mother. I know it's hard to believe because I look so youthful.
It is hard to
But I'm just kidding.
Same age.
She had her really young. She had me
yes,
really
exactly.
young.
At 11.
Yes.
Kind of sad.
Yeah.
But it was so, I love the story of Chris because, her father is a veteran and her daughter is a veteran. And so, there's part of this story of this woman who is literally caught between these two forces that are kind of impermeable. There are certain things that happen, I don't want to give away, that there's a lot of loss and change that's going on. So that fundamental human experience of perhaps being sandwiched between two people whom you love very much, who won't let you in, and or you want so much more for them. And they perhaps for one reason or another, they're not either capable or wanting to or willing to open up and receive that. And so for me, I know that when I'm in that position, I can get a little controlling. I'm like, just do this. I know what's best for you. And so that fits in perfectly as to play a mother. But I just want to mention something that Kyle, you just spoke about the Colonel. It takes a lot of courage for someone to not just to agree to, yes, I'm on this mission, I'm going to do this, but to do it and to stick with it. And 20 years later, here you are, who you are, and here we are. And that is really, that in its own right is extraordinarily inspiring, and it's just a testament to perseverance and to be willing to participate in your own healing and in what you believe in. And that's exactly what you're giving to the world, and what you're giving to me personally, because it's not easy to experience grief and wanting to live a full life in honor of those whom you've lost. And that's one of the things that I get from this movie.
Thank you, Gloria.
Thanks. Sorry.
Thank you, Gloria. Thank you.
I think I need like a mimosa or something.
I think that the character that I play is meant to show how we're perceived by others, right? The struggle that Merritt's going through is uniquely her own. And there's mental health going on there. There's real struggle. And my character sees her for who she is, not who she perceives herself as. So there's a light, there's a silver lining, there's a sort of there's a chance for freedom that she's not giving herself, that I think my character and Morgan's character both present for her, which is there's a light. There's also a light at the end of this experience, and hopefully we can show people the struggle and the hope in the humor. And I think that's sort of what what I'm there to do. I'm sort of there to smile and give her a chance at something hopefully brighter after such a dark period in her life.
But the movie's funny.
I was just going to shout out
movie's
to
a
lights up a
comedy.
room too.
Shout
So
out
Yeah.
to just Utkarsh and Natalie for bringing levity to this film specifically. It was so important to me to make this a dark comedy because the rest of the world perceives us as so serious. Why so serious and stoic? And sure, there's a part of that, but we're funny. We tell so many jokes, so it had to be embodied by funny people. These are incredibly funny people, but they can do both. Utkarsh was just saying there's no box. They can do both.
Yeah,
And
well, tragedy and comedy often live in the same space. And the way that most of us who have dealt with extreme trauma deal with it is by laughing right in its face. And I think that we experienced a lot of that on our set.
Kyle, a large dynamic of the film is the relationship between Merritt and her grandfather, who is played by Ed Harris. And for you, is it important to just show maybe the difference of the generational experience for Vietnam veterans versus Iraq and Afghanistan veterans?
I'll start by saying Ed sends his best. Ed is on a film in London right now. Ed also was one of the first to sign on, also an executive producer. He would be here if he could. The character that Ed plays, his name is Dale. He's a retired colonel. It's Merritt's grandfather. It's Gloria's father. That's my grandpa Orville. He's retired from the Army 22 years. And there's just so much of this film that is true for me and my experience, but also so many other veterans' experience have all poured into this. But yeah, when I got back from Iraq, I kind of thought that I would talk to my grandpa about war, because he didn't talk about it. As we all know, that's kind of the story. Specifically, the Vietnam veterans, as we also know, that it's different. When my grandpa came back, he was spit on outside of SFO, just because of his haircut. I came back from Iraq to kids wanting to get my autograph. They shot fire hoses over the jetway. Thank you for your service. We're also trained to say that now. I'm appreciative of it. My grandfather didn't have that. And I see that in Vietnam veterans. I do a lot of work for the VA, and they see my generation coming back and they're happy. They're happy for us, but there's also a sadness because they didn't get that. So Ed Harris's character represents, I try to have it represent the experience of the Vietnam veteran and also just being a mentor to this next generation, because there's a specific scene between Sonequa and Ed on the pontoon boat where some words are said and some things come out. And anyway, yeah, I just really wanted to kind of touch on the whole diaspora and try to have every veteran out there feel seen in one way or the other, or people who love veterans that have to deal with us because we're so stubborn sometimes, but so worth it. And so hopefully you kind of get a mixed bag in the film.
Does it feel rare to you all to see movies not just about the veteran experience, but also movies that deal with themes of sacrifice and patriotism in the way that this film deals with it?
Yes. It's extremely rare. I don't think I've ever seen a movie that deals with patriotism in the way that this movie does, because it's a real honest look at it and a real honest look at the sacrifice that veterans make and why they make them, and the economic reasons why they might make them, and the real life reasons why they're serving that I don't think is looked at, and I definitely don't think it's looked at from a female veteran perspective almost ever. So yeah, this is what was interesting to me. I mean, I think not to get political at all, but I'm so supportive of veterans. I'm not really supportive of war. Mm-hmm. And it was interesting for me to make a movie that had to do with somebody who was like that. But the way that it's written, when and if you see the movie, you'll understand, I think, why I was so on board with it, because it comes at it from a real person perspective, which is the truth. These are real people. This is not a monolith of, toy soldiers. These are real people who are serving in the Army or in any of the armed forces for many, many very different reasons. So yes.
I also think so many of our movies about our veterans focus heavily on the suffering aspect and the grit and how dark it is. And there are these real, the dramas where Bradley Cooper's holding the baby and we can all tell it's not a real baby. But this one has a lightness of being about it as well. There's the human experience, which I think that really touched me in seeing the movie for the first time, seeing these full people living a full life together.
I felt the same way because like Gloria beautifully said a moment ago, you know, he put his life on the line and had the courage and the bravery and the sensitivity and the heart and the passion to share his story so that others could see themselves, to help, because there is such there is that struggle, there is that suffering that is happening once our veterans come home, and there's a way out. That's the hope and the comedy that and the lightness, the brightness that we see as well. I know for me, I was just so moved at his mission and was so grateful to God for having the opportunity to stand with him. And I know that we all feel that way, and not just us, but Ed and Morgan and all the other cast and all the crew. We all knew that this is real. This is a story that isn't usually told.
And the if I may, just the fundamental humanity of it, the universal issues that are told so beautifully, of family, of friends, of loss, of grief, of hope and humor and healing and breaking the silence and the shame and forgiveness.
Why would you re-enlist?
The world is not my oyster.
You think the world is my oyster? I'm a black woman in America.
With a lake house.
It's my grandparents' lake house. It isn't.
Oh, shut up.